This week on Dean Partridge's Canadian Whitetail.
There's a really big, wide 4x4 here that I think Stevie's wanting to get a look at.
Well, we think he's big. We gotta have a look at him first.
That is a big 8-pointer. Oh my gosh. Steve.
How you like that, buddy?
That understand the dedication, understanding, and patience that hunting trophy whitetails truly takes. However, one such man is my good friend, Mr. Steve Sisar, hands down one of the best whitetail hunters I know alive today, and we've been so fortunate to have Steve right there through this adventure that's been Canadian whitetail, an integral part of the process on many hunts, right from setting up to the conclusion.
Anyways, Cam, good job, buddy.
Thanks, Steve.
Glad you're done.
Congratulations, bud. That's a deer of a lifetime right there.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, you did. Good job, buddy.
Yeah, you did.
Selfless and skilled, Steve's pride comes not from his own accomplishments, but from helping others in the woods.
Congratulations, Billy. Sweet.
Wait till the big guy sees that one.
Oh, yeah.
And if you watch, you'll almost always see Steve there, while filming the walk-up to the monarchs that we hunt, and that's because he was there all along. Quite often, Steve is so caught up in the setup and the scouting and trying to figure out these old bucks that he doesn't spend a lot of time in front of the camera, elite bow in hand, hunting for himself. However, this year there was a deer that Steve identified as wanting to get in and take a closer look at. And this was a buck that we knew well. And we had years of history with him on our Spot Point trail cameras. Now the only problem was, in all those years, we had never had one encounter with a deer. We'd never seen him in the flesh, not even once. Steve was in for a long hunt. Watching the buck for the past 6 years, since 2009, we had seen the buck grow year after year, his beams getting heavier and his tines getting taller, and we had watched the big 8 rise amongst the ranks of the other deer in the area. Scouting is no different than any job you do. It's a lot easier when you've got the right tools, and we're still about 7 weeks out from season, but we're headed out today to do some more scouting and get a few more cameras up in a couple areas that we want to check out. This particular day we were headed out to look for one very specific buck, the large 4x4 that we've been watching for the past 6 years, and that Steve was very interested in checking in on. A lot of the crops are starting to look yellow. I'm expecting the swathers are going to be out within probably a week and a half. And then when those deer shift into that early fall routine, within a few days we'll go from, having only a couple stands to having all of our stands running. We might have 20 or 25 stands out. In the buck's old haunts we had found him, and this year he was absolutely huge. But like usual, only passing by this camera in the cover of dark. After several more weeks of scouting, we made a plan and decided on a spot that we felt would provide our best chances for a daylight encounter with the buck. We had made the commitment to the spot, and it was now time to head in and set up. This is easily my favorite time of the year, getting together to set up, taking the kids to teach them and enjoy the woods. As always, brushing in the blinds to best match their surroundings is so critical and very important. Well, Stevie and Scott and Jason and his son Cole are out today. We're getting a couple spots set up. And what happens is we're only barely 200 yards off the road. We usually try to stay away from roads, but this time we actually enjoy having that road there because all the agricultural fields on the other side. And in this spot, it's a big brick of timber to the south. And the deer come up to this patchy spot and stage up in this patchy bit of brush before they go across that road. For whatever reason, at this spot, they won't cross that road out into the alfalfa and the ag until after sunset. So it actually works out pretty good. In the coming weeks after checking our trail cameras, it turned out that we'd been right and we were getting velvet pictures of the buck. And not only that, we were getting regular daylight photos of him, which told us that we're in a much better position to hunt him than we were ever before. He was simply outstanding, still a mainframe 4x4, but wide, tall, and loads of extra mass. The buck we'd simply named the Big 8 had certainly hit his prime.
Weeks later, it was now opening day, and Steve was headed in to hunt the giant 8 that was still regular on our trail cameras.
Steve was heading in, like every year, with all of that opening day excitement, except this time he had his bow in hand rather than a camera.
It's hot. Whew, way too hot for first day of fall. Use the camera to judge and pattern your animals, and then if you're a trophy class hunter, you actually want to see that animal visually for yourself to make your final decisions.
In and settled, it's a long few hours before Steve has his first encounter with this young buck. But never discouraged, Steve knows that tomorrow is another day.
There's a really nice four-pointer hanging around through this area, and I'd like to have a look at him.
Today, Steve's greeted by deer movement much earlier in the afternoon, when this doe and fawn arrive. A short while later, a very promising, heavy young up-and-comer makes an appearance. Shortly after, a much older, mature 4x4 shows up to the Big and J block. A gorgeous deer, however, definitely not the target 8-point. As light fades, even though there was no encounter with the Big 8, Steve chalks it up as a very successful night, being able to watch some gorgeous animals.
After a couple of days without an encounter, Steve was still hunting the giant 8. Now in my own hunt, luck had been in the cards, and I was blessed to tag out on my very first day on a great deer featured in another episode. But what really made my short hunt so special was that I now had the opportunity and the time to take over the role as Steve's cameraman and spend some time with Steve chasing the old giant. And I was excited to head in with Steve again, just like the old days.
Getting to hunt with Steve again, just like the old days before all the chaos and busyness of television, and being able to run the camera for him felt great. And I also had a feeling heading in that karma for all of Steve's helping others had waited for today to pay off.
Third set.
You filmed a pretty nice deer here last time, eh?
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
One.
Nice young up-and-comer. Yeah. Needs a couple more years. And then another Wide 4x4 and little 4x4.
There's a really big, wide 4x4 here that I think Stevie's wanting to get a look at.
Well, we think he's big. We gotta have a look at him first.
Shortly into the evening, we notice movement and recognize the young up-and-comer making his way. Just a beautiful deer with all kinds of potential if he has the opportunity to survive. While watching the young bucks, I looked up, and fate had dealt a full house. The big 8 was coming, and closing the distance fast.
Welcome to this week's Canadian Whitetail Scouting segment. Locate, learn, set up, hunt. Brought to you by Big & J Long Range Attractants. The aroma is super strong. The range is super long.
There's no shortcuts in actually taking a trophy mature whitetail, but there are ways to fast track actually locating that deer of your dreams. There's very few hard and fast rules to hunting a mature trophy deer, but one that's almost carved in stone is that you can't kill a deer that doesn't exist. So the first rule is always that you need to locate that deer, and one thing that'll speed that up greatly is using a quality attractant in front of your trail camera. Well, that alone is not going to put that deer up in your wall. But even if you have a trophy deer come by at 3 o'clock in the morning, at least now you know he exists, and you can start to focus your scouting on that deer and formulate a plan, hoping to get an opportunity at him. Make sure and check your local state and provincial laws regarding the use of attractants. And where legal, a quality product like Big & J can greatly reduce the amount of time spent in locating that next deer of your dreams. And that's your Canadian Whitetail Scouting segment for the week.
This week's Canadian Whitetail Scouting segment has been brought to you by Big & J Long Range Attractants.
Welcome back. Before the break, the big 8 that Steve had been waiting for had finally made an appearance, and Steve was about to get his chance. He went down right there, didn't he?
Yeah.
That is a big 8-pointer. Oh my gosh. Steve.
How you like that, buddy?
That's the first time we've sat together in probably a couple of years. And that's the first deer I've ever filmed you shoot.
Yep, absolutely.
Put her there, man. Oh yeah. My gosh.
Man, he came nice.
Oh, he's so wide. And he comes through the bush there. And Steve, I kind of got a different angle than Steve. So I'm watching him come kind of from the southwest a little bit, and Steve couldn't see through the trees there. And Steve said, "How's he look? How's he look?" Because the first time you see him in person is always when you got to judge him. And I kept saying, "He's a tank." And Steve's like, "Getting ready." I'm like, "He's huge."
All right. We gave him a good half hour. I'm pretty confident he went down here right close, so we're going to go have a look.
Pretty obvious.
Yeah, definite double lung. Blood right here. There he is.
There he is, right there.
There's the big guy. Thanks, bud.
Big body deer too, hey?
Yeah. He's no slouch, that's for sure. He's gonna put a lot of meat in the freezer.
He hit him good. He sure didn't go far.
Nope.
I tell you, and I do mean it. It was a treat to get to film with Stevie tonight because I mean deer season's gotten so busy and the main guys kind of all go their way every night. So I tagged out early and I was looking forward to getting to spend a few nights in the blind with Steve, which only equated to one. I'm like a one-hit wonder this year, Steve.
Yeah, you are.
I shot
You're
my
lucky
deer the
man.
first set. I came with Steve and he shot his on the first night, and I mean I would assume it's in that 90 to 150 evenings in a blind for every time you draw your bow, hey?
Yeah, exactly.
And a lot of guys say, why pass up those deer? Well, this is why.
Yeah, it's not very often. You know, you and I have both been hunting for a lot of years, and you don't see a lot of big fours like this. So when they come along, it's pretty tough to let them go. That's why we're here. That's why we do this.
What a gorgeous deer.
Isn't
I
he?
couldn't be happier for you. The ozonics on this deer did nothing for Steve to shoot this deer. This deer came in perfect. I mean, textbook perfect to what we had set up.
Yeah.
Now, 20 minutes beforehand,
Yeah.
we had a decent deer out front, and then an old buck that we've known here for years come up the side, completely downwind. Beside the blind 6 yards, he came across, they went in front and out, and 20 minutes to half an hour later, he walked in. And that's an example of how an ozonics unit works, because it may not have shot this deer, but if that deer had busted us 20 minutes earlier,
She would have been all over.
that would have been the end of the night. We'd have
Yeah.
packed up and been out. So I know we talk about it a lot, but I mean, just the ways that it can affect your hunt are unbelievable.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, congratulations again, bud.
Thanks, man.
It always amazes me how quite often a deer hunt is so much more than just a deer hunt. The best part of this day wasn't the huge buck or the kill. Rather, it was just spending the time in the blind with a good friend, sharing in the anticipation and the accomplishment. Regardless how you look at it, either it being me tagged out early, allowing me time to go with Steve, or Steve not getting a shot at the buck in the first few days, so essentially it would put it off until I was able to come. It's just more proof that most everything in the deer woods happens for a reason. Congratulations, Steve, on a tremendous buck that outsmarted us for so many years. I don't know anybody more deserving. Thanks for watching this week's episode of Canadian Whitetail.
For exclusive content, follow Dean and the team on Facebook, as well as on Instagram and Twitter @WhitetailDean. For Canadian Whitetail gear and apparel, visit CanadianHuntShop.com.